Hey everyone, today I wanted to go over pretty much everything that we can expect there to be showcased in the upcoming Capcom digital presentation for the 4th free title update. If for whatever reason you haven't necessarily been keeping up, on February 1st at 3 p.m. Pacific time or 6 p.m. East Coast time, Capcom is going to be hosting a Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak digital presentation showcasing and finally revealing everything that will be part of the 4th free title update. And a lot of people had been kind of like just wondering what exactly is going to be part of this specific event. So in this video, I'm going to try to cover pretty much everything that we know on both sides. A, officially revealed through Capcom themselves, so this is not really up for debate since we kind of already know because they already told us. And B, the things that are quote unquote unconfirmed because we basically know based on the game's false information that we've kind of been digging through the past few months. And before I begin, I want to make a couple of very quick clarifications. We're not going to be discussing anything here regarding the 5th or potential 6th free title update. That is still a long ways off. There's a couple of months even for, the 5th one, much less the 6th one, if there even is going to be one. Not going to get into that as of right now. Also, if you watched one of my more recent videos where I spoke about the 5 monsters that are coming to Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak through the free title updates, a lot of the information that I'm going to be covering here is going to sound familiar to that, but there are a couple of clarifications. That was a little bit of a catch-all video where I went over kind of like everything, covering all of the details. There are some more additions that I didn't necessarily get to cover in that video that I want to delve a little bit deeper in this one for sure. So with all that table setting out of the way, first and foremost, I kind of want to go over the things that Capcom has originally confirmed through themselves. Then we're going to be talking about a little bit regarding the quests, some of the quests that they have announced already. And then we're going to talk about monsters and then the potential things that are kind of like still up in the air that we are not necessarily too sure. So when it comes to pretty much the things that they have confirmed essentially 3 quality of life improvements. The first one comes in the form of hunter loadouts. Basically, they're going to unify item loadouts, equipment loadouts, layer loadouts, and you're going to have now another brand new option that is called a hunter loadout. So simply put, any items, this is going to be really good for like elemental armor sets or like gunners or bowmen, if you will. Any sort of item set that you specifically use specific ammos for, equipment, of course, that requires a specific loadout set, and any sort of layered loadout you already have if you want to look differently, a different color or whatever the case is. All of those are now going to be unified under the hunter loadout. Now, one of the things that people have kind of pushed back on is they want their palicos and palamutes also to have their separate, pre-equipped loadouts, maybe for elemental weapons or maybe a specific like palico or palamute, specifically to kind of be added into this hunter loadout kind of like catch-all, if you will. We haven't necessarily seen anything from Capcom kind of like suggesting that they're going to do that, but maybe for the 5th free title update, that is something that they can finally go ahead and like add palicos and or palamutes as well. Another thing we're seeing in the official edition on is that they're going to be tweaking anomaly investigation research requests. This is when you are taking on anomaly investigation quests and you are basically trying to, grind to get to level 200. We're going to be talking about the level cap at the back end of the video since that is also a point of discussion as of right now. But simply put, they're going to make it so you can not only fight monsters a little bit easier, as you're going to be finding some of the monsters at a lower level. You're also going to be able to have request completion rewards through just simply doing quests based on like a specific level. You don't necessarily have to tackle the monster that it tells you. If you do, you will be able to get extra bonus rewards. You're going to be able to get extra tokens and stuff like that. That's all well and good. But if you still want to be able to collect those investigation coins, you're just going to have to be able to do like a quest 141, 151, 161, whatever the case is. And you still get some sort of investigation coins. So at the end of the day, you get your 300 coins rewards. Those coins are very good, especially for endgame. If you still are missing mantles from some specific monsters, you want to have some extra ones laying around. Having a bunch of coins is always good. There's no real downside to that. So they're going to be addressing that in this specific update. They're also going to be addressing the fact that the level conditions for anomaly research quests will be made lower so you can draw them a little bit more often. And a lot of people were kind of a little bit confused as to what this ultimately means at the end of the day. And all it means is that monsters are going to be that you don't usually come across. They're going to be a little bit easier to find in lower levels. Even if you're already level cap 200, that's going to be the case. And the aforementioned conditions are going to be a little bit lower as well. So you can grind a little bit faster. You can get a little bit better rewards in that regard. Still, the grind from everyone, literally everyone in the comments who's spoken about Anomaly Investigation ground to 200, they still say it's too much. They still say it's not fun. I 100% agree. This is why I personally haven't necessarily gotten too deep into it. I don't particularly care to get into 200 unless they raise the level cap, which we'll be discussing in a little bit. And the last thing that Capcom has officially confirmed through their channels is that, of course, 3 dual threat event quests will be part of the next free title update. We know this because they put out a poll. If you saw one of my most recent videos, you saw that I spoke about the developer challenges. This is where we got to vote. Usually they let us pick a weapon for the developers to play with. This time they just said we're going to be using the lance, that their lead lance designer is going to be using it. And what we got to vote on was which dual threat event quest they are going to be able to play as. And we now know, based on the 4 free title updates, kind of like roadmap for quest, that Furious Rajang, two Furious Rajang quest, a Gold Rathian, any Silver Rathalos, and a Seething Bazelgeuse and Chaotic Gore Magala quests will be pretty much the 3 dual event quests that we end up getting. So it doesn't necessarily seem like there's going to be any other ones. Maybe they might save one that we don't necessarily know about. I believe the number usually has been 2 to 3 dual threat event quests. They keep calling, kind of like every time we get a dual threat event quest, like kind of like they keep hyping them up like these are more dangerous than the others. Some of them have been, not necessarily all of them have been in that regard. So that is what we know as of right now. Now that doesn't mean that there's just going to be 3 quests for the 4th free title update. The last one had 13. That would be the 3rd free title update. The one before that, I believe, had 8 or 9, if I remember correctly, or maybe 10. So the point is, they've kind of given us more quests than before, and this one should probably be no different as we head into the 5th free title update. One last thing that I also want to confirm is that, of course, like I went over in one of my most recent videos, I think it might have been yesterday's video, they will be giving away a brand new Palamute layered armor like reward if you have a Capcom ID account. So that is something that they're going to be showcasing in this specific presentation. They're going to be going over the details in the presentation themselves. You basically should just have a Capcom ID account pre-made already. So as long as you have that, once the event goes live, everyone is going to be rushing that shot. Most likely it's going to crash or something. So if you want to get those rewards, you're going to be able to get them there. I do want to make it very clear, PlayStation and Xbox and PC Windows players will not have access to this because Sunbreak is still not currently available there. This is just for Nintendo Switch and PC Steam users. Now, as far as the actual presentation is concerned and the official kind of like blog update that they provided, this is all in Japanese. They do kind of quickly mention that, of course, it will follow the traditional format of previous presentations. So usually what it has been is they start out with, they showcase a trailer. Of course, they're going to be showcasing the monsters, which we're going to be talking about in a second. They showcase the monsters. They talk about some brand new quests. They talk about, extra quality of life improvements, maybe in addition to anomaly investigations, which we'll be getting to in a second. And then, they pretty much just kind of do a little bit of a deep dive based on what they showed in the presentation itself. They give us a brand new roadmap, and there we go. Now, as far as the roadmap is concerned, I guess the only thing it's worth mentioning is that they're not going to give us the date on the 5th free title update. And I've seen a lot of people suggest that they're actually going to reveal more to come regarding the teaser of the 6th free title update. I don't think they're ready to do that. I think they'll do that at the end of the 5th free title update presentation, whenever that is set to take place. That is most likely, I would wager maybe around May or something, early May, late April. That will most likely be when that takes place. I don't think they're going to tease any sort of updates as of right now, changing to the roadmap. They'll just leave it as it is. Now, as far as the monsters are concerned, we pretty much know of 2 of them, and that is because that is what this update will be having. Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax is the first monster that's going to be part of this specific update. I don't necessarily know if it will be the first one that they showcase. The next one is most likely the one that they're going to lead in as the flagship, kind of like the one for this specific free title update. But we do know, and we have known for quite a while, that some type of Valstrax will be part of some type of update. And in the last batch of updates, specifically in the last patch 13.01, I believe, is when we kind of like ended up seeing that Crimson Glow Valstrax was going to be the one. The reason why we know that is because based on the coding in the game, there's a Curious Burst that it has, essentially the same thing that you typically see Risen Kushala D'Ora, Risen Teostra, Risen Camelios, and Risen Crimson Glow Valstrax will fall into that same line. So we'll be doing that same Curious Burst. It will have a different of a coloring kind of a change situation going on. And that's pretty much how that's gonna boil down. So if you were like expecting anything crazy or over the top, Risens are still coming. There's still gonna be another one after this in the 5th free title update, and that's just the way it is. You know, Risens have been kind of like just another boundary of anomaly investigations, if you will. One of the things that I covered in one of the previous developer interviews that a lot of people just kind of just didn't necessarily catch this. Again, bigger channels than mine don't necessarily cover the news that I cover, but in one of the developer interviews, they spoke about how they kind of wanted to reestablish elders as the top of the line, most dangerous monsters in the game. So this is why they never really ended up getting anomaly investigations or anything like that. They didn't get overpowered by the Curio, they actually overcame it. So they are still more dangerous than any anomaly investigation monsters, and that is just going to be the way that they're going to stand. So, you know, these monsters are just a real threat, and according to Capcom, that is by design. Now, the flagship monster for this specific update will be Volcana. I think a lot of people who have been keeping up with, you know, the information that's kind of been out there already, we're kind of already expecting this. A lot of people expect other monsters. You know, they have a lot of long wish lists, but at the end of the day, Volcana is going to be, you know, the Elder Dragon that maybe a lot of people wouldn't necessarily want to be able to see in this game, but is the one that we're gonna end up getting, you know. So we also know that this one will have not only, okay, so there's a lot of things here to go over. Basically, a lot of things in the games files themselves changed as part of the last update, and we know that a lot of turf wars have been adjusted, and some of those are kind of like introducing the fact that Volcana will be there. We do know that some of the turf wars that it had with Kushala D'Ora, Rajang, and Teostra will also be coming back. Those monsters were already available in Monster Hunter World. Therefore, any turf wars with Volcana will continue to stand as they were previously. We also know a couple of new ones have been adjusted with some of the monsters like Malzeno and Magnamalo as well. And as of the last update, Volcana uses the same turf war animation that Magnamalo has versus Scorned Magnamalo. So, of course, that will most likely end up getting adjusted one way or the other. But that seems to be the way that they're going to be treating it. Kind of like a smaller monster, but interesting nonetheless. And the last thing worth mentioning regarding Volcana is the fact that it'll still be a roaming type of monster in Monster Hunter World, and in Iceborne, it was a roamer. It appeared pretty much in every single area, except specifically, I think, in an arena or something. So in this game, it's pretty much going to be no different. It's going to be appearing pretty much in all of the maps based on what we ended up seeing. Now, a lot of people have asked me, how is it that we know which monsters are going to appear? Like I mentioned before, some of the turf war data has been adjusted, therefore we know. And also the monsters codex tells us pretty much, I mean, every monster has a code signifier. Every code is just like one specific monster. Therefore, we know which monster they're talking about based off of the codex. So I saw someone in the comments in one of those recent videos where I went over the 5 monsters that we should be expecting, including these 2 and 3 more that are coming. Someone telling me that was just my personal wish list and I didn't know what I was talking about. And I ended up just kind of laughing in the comments as, you know, you can believe whatever you want. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything, but the information is already out there. It's up to you if you want to actually take it seriously or not. And I think my track record speaks for itself. Now, the last thing that I do want to specifically cover is just kind of like the ambiguousness regarding anomaly investigations. Now, there's been a lot of discussion regarding anomaly 8-star investigations. Is that going to be happening in this specific update? When are we going to get more anomaly monsters? The reality of the matter is that there's only 3 specific monsters as of where it currently stands, including this specific update, or the 2 monsters that I just covered. Including them, there's only 3 monsters that could technically still get anomalied, and that would be Chaotic Gore Magala, that would be Lucent Nargacuga, and Violet Mitsuzune. And neither of those monsters, the last 2, Lucent Nargacuga and Violet Mitsuzune, appear outside of the arena. Therefore, those monsters cannot necessarily be anomalied because every anomalied monster appears outside of an arena. Only chaotic Gore Magala would. I don't necessarily think that they will make an entirely new tier just for chaotic Gore Magala. Now, of course, like I mentioned before, and people have asked me in the comments, well, couldn't that possibly change? Absolutely. They could make both Violet Mitsuzune and Lucent Nargacuga appear in just normal event quests outside of the arena, and therefore, through the update itself, they could just be roamer monsters outside of an arena. But they haven't done that. And I kind of thought that they would end up doing this time around for the 3rd free title update, but they didn't do it. They could still end up doing it for the 4th one, because if I really had to put money on it, again, we haven't seen this in the games files, but if they did, they most likely would end up doing it for this 4th free title update. We end up getting an event quest with them both outside roaming about, any random map, maybe in the Citadel. And then in the 5th free title update, they finally end up giving us 8-star anomaly investigation quest. The thing that people have kind of been wondering is that's going to happen. At the same time, regarding levels, being raised from 200 to 300 to 250 to 999, that's all kind of ambiguous. That's all kind of like wish list stuff. Nothing has been seen in the game itself to tell us that it's actually going to happen. We didn't necessarily expect the level cap to go from 120 to 200. We kind of thought that they would put a stopgap at a 160. They didn't. They just went straight up 120 to 200. They might end up doing that for 999, realistically speaking, just to give people an endless grind. But again, I don't necessarily know, so I can't speak to that. It hasn't been filed in the games files. Therefore, I don't necessarily want to speculate that that is actually going to happen or give some type of pseudo confirmation when there's just none there to be had. But that's pretty much everything that we can expect, both confirmed through Capcom, found unofficially, again, through the games files, and kind of like the speculation side when it comes to the anomaly thing. Is this going to be most likely the smallest free title update that we end up getting? It seems to be that way. Just 2 new monsters, a couple of event quests, nothing necessarily major. Again, unless they actually go ahead and surprise us with something major, we don't necessarily expect there to be something huge in this specific update like we have seen in the past. So this one is more of a little bit of a precursor for what's come next, and most likely the 5th one is going to be the major real big update. Again, if there's a 6th one, there will be different reasons as to why it happens. It wouldn't necessarily be because Capcom wants to add more content. It's because they want to unify PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PC all together finally. Not through crossplay, not through cross saves, but just content wise. They did that with PC, Steam, and Nintendo Switch. So maybe at some point in time they do that with all the other consoles and everyone finally at the same playing field. But as of right now, that's just speculation, so I don't want to necessarily get into that here. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today. Definitely going to be looking forward to the presentation itself. Stay tuned to my channel to be able to cover all of the news that they're going to be showcasing there. And if you're brand new to my channel, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.